In a bid to reshape its artistic identity, Boston is set to launch the inaugural Boston Public Art Triennial on May 22, 2025. This ambitious citywide exhibition aims to place Boston on the contemporary art map, showcasing 20 commissioned works across various neighborhoods and partnering museums. Executive Director Kate Gilbert emphasized that the event seeks to present a new narrative about Boston, one that reflects the city's diverse and vibrant character. "We wanted to concentrate it in a not-to-be-missed festival-type experience," Gilbert stated, highlighting the triennial's goal of making high-quality art accessible to all residents. The triennial emerges from the efforts of Gilbert's nonprofit Now Plus There, which has previously executed numerous public art projects throughout the city. However, these individual commissions lacked the collective impact necessary to garner significant audience attention. To remedy this, the triennial concept was born, with plans for the exhibition to recur every 3 years. With an estimated budget of $8 million, the triennial is designed to create a festival-like atmosphere, encouraging community engagement through extraordinary art experiences. Artistic Director Pedro Alonzo, who has curated this year's exhibition titled The Exchange, emphasized the importance of connecting artists with Boston's wealth of local talent and expertise. "The idea of the triennial is to give artists access to this amazing pool of talent. We have to develop projects that hopefully the public can get behind," he noted. Featured artists include notable names like Cannupa, Hanska, Luger, and Patrick Martinez, each tackling themes of identity, social justice, and environmental consciousness in their works. Martinez's installation, for example, will see vibrant neon signs displaying poignant phrases developed in collaboration with young people experiencing homelessness. This installation aims to challenge perceptions surrounding poverty and community. In a similar vein, Brazilian artist Lima is collaborating with Mass Audubon to create sculptures that will engage with urban wildlife, prompting reflections on humanity's relationship with nature. Julian Cherrier, an artist based in Berlin, plans to present a live video feed from the Amazon rainforest, allowing viewers to interact with nature via a phone booth. This project not only engages with climate issues but also reflects Boston's significant Brazilian community. The diverse artistic expressions throughout the triennial aim to foster a greater understanding of shared humanity and the challenges facing various communities. The triennial also serves as a platform for addressing historical narratives. Nicholas Gallinan's sculpture, for instance, explores themes of indigenous identity by reassembling a bronze piece that references a tourist version of a totem pole. Funded as part of the city's Unmonument initiative, the work is intended to provoke discussions around representation and the complexities of cultural identity. Mayor Michelle Wu has expressed strong support for the triennial, viewing it as a means to bridge divides across Boston's neighborhoods. The goal of the exchange is to create an experience that cuts across barriers in the city, geographic, generational, cultural, to really draw everyone in, she remarked. As the triennial approaches, the excitement builds around its potential to redefine Boston's relationship with contemporary art. Jill Medvow, former director of the Institute of Contemporary Art Boston, acknowledged that building visibility and critical mass in the art scene requires time and persistent effort. "We're in a great wait-and-see moment," she said, highlighting the importance of community involvement and response to the exhibition. With the Boston Public Art Triennial set to open in just a few weeks, anticipation is palpable. The event promises to not only showcase extraordinary art but also to foster dialogue and connection among the city's diverse communities, potentially marking the beginning of a transformative era for Boston's public art landscape. As the city looks to the future, the triennial could serve as a catalyst for ongoing artistic engagement and innovation, encouraging Bostonians to envision their city through a contemporary lens. In a dramatic turn of events this week, the world has witnessed significant political and social developments that underscore the complexities of leadership, identity, and the rule of law. From a historic funeral in Rome to the sentencing of a controversial former congressman, the news has captured the attention of citizens and leaders alike, shining a light on issues of governance, justice, and societal values. On April 26, 2025, former President Donald Trump joined dozens of world leaders in Rome to pay respects at the funeral of Pope Francis. The event marked a poignant moment in global politics as leaders from various nations gathered not only to honor the late pontiff but also to reflect on the influence and legacy of his teachings. Trump's presence was notable considering his controversial history with religious communities and global diplomacy. The former president, who has often been criticized for his polarizing rhetoric, appeared at the Vatican amid discussions about the future of global leadership and the intersection of faith and politics. Pope Francis was a voice for the voiceless, Trump remarked during his speech, emphasizing the need for unity in a world increasingly divided by ideological differences. In stark contrast to the solemnity of the funeral, the legal landscape in the United States saw a significant development as former Congressman George Santos was sentenced to over 7 years in prison for fraud and campaign finance violations. Santos, who gained notoriety for his controversial and often misleading statements regarding his background and achievements, was found guilty of using campaign funds for personal expenses and lying to federal authorities. His sentencing serves as a cautionary tale about accountability in public office, with analysts suggesting it could have broader implications for election integrity and public trust in elected officials. This case should send a strong message to all those in power: honesty and integrity are non-negotiable, said legal expert Lisa Hartman, highlighting the need for vigilance against corruption in politics. As debates over political accountability continue, the fight against anti-Semitism has emerged as a contentious issue, particularly in light of recent claims that Trump is politicizing the struggle against this long-standing prejudice. Many Jewish communities have expressed concern that Trump's approach may be more about political gain than genuine commitment to combating hatred. We need leaders who will prioritize the fight against anti-Semitism over their own political ambitions, said Rabbi Isaac Cohen, reflecting a sentiment shared by many who fear that the seriousness of the issue is being overshadowed by partisan agendas. Adding to the week's turbulence, a Wisconsin judge was arrested by the FBI for allegedly obstructing an immigrant arrest. The judge's actions have raised questions about the role of law enforcement and the judiciary in immigration matters, particularly as public sentiment around immigration continues to shift. Critics argue that such actions undermine the rule of law and contribute to a growing climate of distrust between communities and institutions. This incident highlights the delicate balance that must be maintained in our justice system, stated legal analyst Peter J. Reynolds, urging a careful examination of judicial conduct in politically charged cases. These developments reflect a broader narrative of our times, where the intersection of morality, governance, and social justice shapes public discourse. As global leaders convene and domestic legal systems grapple with integrity and accountability, the implications of these events will likely resonate far beyond their immediate contexts. The coming weeks will be crucial in determining how these issues evolve and influence both political landscapes and societal values as citizens and leaders alike navigate the complexities of modern governance. In recent years, the practice of tipping has expanded well beyond traditional service industries, causing growing frustration among consumers. A new report sheds light on this phenomenon, revealing how many individuals are grappling with the constant expectation to tip for services that previously did not warrant such gratuities. With various platforms now integrating tipping options into their transactions, the question arises: how are consumers coping with this evolving landscape? As tipping culture becomes ubiquitous, many customers express their discontent. It's overwhelming. Every time I make a purchase, there's a reminder to tip, even when the service is minimal, a frequent diner shared in an interview. This sentiment resonates with numerous consumers who find themselves bombarded by tipping prompts at cafes, online deliveries, and even automated kiosks. The Wall Street Journal notes that this shift has led to a cultural shift where tipping has become an almost obligatory practice, irrespective of the quality of service rendered. The prevalence of digital payment systems has accelerated the proliferation of tipping requests. As businesses increasingly adopt point-of-sale systems that prompt customers to tip, many consumers feel pressured to comply. Data from a recent survey highlighted that more than 70% of respondents reported feeling obligated to tip when a prompt appeared regardless of their satisfaction level. This phenomenon raises questions about the impact on consumer behavior and expectations. Moreover, the rise of apps and services that include tipping features has blurred the lines of traditional tipping practices. For instance, food delivery services once considered straightforward transactions now embed tipping in their payment processes. It's just another way businesses are capitalizing on our willingness to tip, remarked a marketing analyst. This has led to a palpable sense of fatigue among consumers who are now navigating an environment where tipping is required for everything from a coffee to a rideshare. In response to this tipping fatigue, some consumers have begun to adopt coping mechanisms. Many are opting to limit their spending at establishments where tipping is expected, while others are choosing to pay in cash to avoid the digital prompts. "I've started carrying cash again just to bypass the tipping question," one consumer admitted. This trend signifies a pushback against the relentless tipping culture that has developed and highlights a desire for clarity and fairness in service industries. As businesses continue to navigate this tipping landscape, the ongoing push for transparency may lead to a re-evaluation of tipping norms. Some companies are beginning to adopt service charges instead of relying on gratuities, potentially reshaping how consumers interact with service providers. Looking ahead, the tipping debate is unlikely to wane anytime soon. As consumers become more vocal about their frustrations, businesses may need to reconsider their practices to foster customer loyalty and trust. The evolution of tipping culture will undoubtedly be a significant topic of discussion as we move forward, reflecting broader changes in consumer attitudes toward service and compensation. The coming years may see either a return to more traditional tipping practices or a significant overhaul of how gratuities are perceived in the modern economy. In a significant shift aimed at bolstering profitability, Spotify has announced plans to raise subscription prices in numerous countries outside the United States this summer. The decision comes as the music streaming giant experiences a remarkable surge in its stock price, which has more than doubled over the past year, accompanied by positive financial results and a growing subscriber base. According to sources familiar with the matter, Spotify intends to increase prices by approximately €1 for individual subscriptions in various European and Latin American markets as soon as June. However, the company will not implement similar increases in the US, its largest market, where it already raised prices to $11.99 a month last July. Spotify declined to comment on the specifics of the upcoming price adjustments. The music industry's push for higher streaming prices has intensified, with executives advocating for increases that keep pace with inflation. Industry leaders argue that the cost of music streaming services remains low compared to other entertainment platforms such as Netflix. Despite recent adjustments, the U.S. subscription price has remained unchanged since the service's launch 14 years ago at $9.99. In recent weeks, Spotify has already begun implementing price hikes in select markets, including the Netherlands and Luxembourg, and the forthcoming changes will mark a more pronounced shift in its pricing strategy. This development coincides with a broader trend in the music sector where revenue growth has slowed significantly, having compared to the previous year, according to the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry (IFPI). As major music companies seek new avenues for growth, they have introduced the concept of a streaming 2.0, which envisions a new phase of music streaming characterized by higher-priced premium offerings. Plans under consideration include charging extra fees for early access to new music and concert tickets, targeting the most dedicated fans of popular artists. Spotify is reportedly exploring a super premium tier that could add $6 to the current subscription fee in the US. Industry analysts express skepticism about how consumers will respond to these price increases after enjoying affordable access to a vast music library for about a decade. Mark Mulligan, a media analyst at Media, raised the question of whether consumers would embrace a super premium model, suggesting that the value proposition must be compelling enough to justify the additional costs. As Spotify gears up to unveil its next earnings report next week, industry observers will be closely watching how these pricing strategies impact subscriber retention and overall revenue growth. The company's recent stock performance reflects optimism among investors. But the real test will be engaging consumer response to potentially increased costs in a market already brimming with competition. The coming months will be pivotal for Spotify as it navigates the delicate balance between profitability and user satisfaction, all while attempting to sustain its competitive edge in the rapidly evolving landscape of music streaming. As the company lays the groundwork for what it hopes will be a successful transition to higher pricing tiers, the outcome could significantly shape the future of music consumption. In a world increasingly defined by authoritarianism, the experiences of those who have fled oppressive regimes offer a stark reflection of the political climate in the United States today. Mona Eltahawy, a prominent Egyptian-American journalist, poignantly articulates her concerns about the parallels between her homeland and her adopted country in her recent opinion piece for The Guardian. With a background steeped in the realities of dictatorship, Eltahawy's observations compel readers to reconsider the implications of political shifts in the U.S., particularly under the leadership of former President Donald Trump. Having emigrated to the United States from Egypt in 2000, Eltahawy recounts her weekly FaceTime calls with her parents in Cairo, where discussions often revolve around the political machinations of both Trump and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. The irony of living in a country where, as she describes, a dictator for each side of our hyphen exists, reflects a troubling trend she has witnessed: the U.S. increasingly adopting characteristics reminiscent of authoritarian regimes. Eltahawy's frustration is palpable as she draws attention to the erosion of democratic values and the rise of unchecked state power in the U.S. She cites a series of encapsulating a sense of urgency that seems to be met with apathy among many Americans. A key element of her critique is the stark contrast in perception and response between white Americans and those from marginalized communities. Eltahawy argues that while many white citizens remain complacent, believing in the invulnerability of American institutions, those who have lived under oppressive regimes harbor a deep skepticism towards such systems. This divergence in outlook underlines a broader societal issue: the failure to recognize the precursors to authoritarian rule when they manifest. In her participation in an anti-Trump protest, Eltahawy notes the absence of genuine rage and urgency among a predominantly white crowd, suggesting that many Americans do not perceive the loss of rights as a personal threat but rather as a distant issue affecting people who aren't white. She emphasizes that this detachment is dangerous, as it allows the erosion of democratic norms to continue unchecked. The piece starkly contrasts the political landscapes of Egypt and the U.S., highlighting the alarming rise of religious nationalism in American politics. Eltahawy parallels the ambitions of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt with the rise of white Christian nationalism in the U.S., suggesting that both movements seek to impose a singular ideological framework on governance. She criticizes the failure of the media to adequately address the politicization of Christianity in America, drawing attention to the detrimental effects of such ideologies on women's rights and social equity. As Eltahawy reflects on her own radicalization in the U.S., she expresses a newfound commitment to feminist activism infused with a sense of anarchism shaped by her experiences. Her journey of empowerment through strength training symbolizes a broader call to action, urging others to embrace their own power as a counter to the encroaching authoritarianism she perceives. In conclusion, Eltahawy's powerful narrative serves as a warning and a rallying cry. The parallels she draws between the U.S. and Egypt are not merely rhetorical, they are a clarion call to recognize the signs of encroaching tyranny and to take action before it is too late. As political dynamics continue to evolve, her insights urge us to remain vigilant and engaged, fostering a collective resistance against the forces that threaten democracy and human rights. The future, she suggests, hinges on the ability of citizens to channel their rage into meaningful action lest they find themselves trapped in a reality they once fled. As President Donald Trump nears the 100-day milestone of his second term, his administration is facing significant headwinds, characterized by historically low approval ratings and growing voter skepticism. A recent poll conducted by the New York Times and Siena College reveals a complex landscape where Trump's ambitious agenda is met with considerable resistance, particularly among independent voters and Democrats. The poll, which surveyed 913 voters nationwide from April 21 to 24, highlights a striking sentiment among the electorate. A majority feel that Trump has gone too far in his early policy initiatives. Specifically, 54% of respondents expressed the belief that his actions have exceeded acceptable presidential authority, indicating a growing unease surrounding his leadership style. Voters' perceptions of Trump's presidency lean heavily towards the negative, with descriptors such as scary and chaotic resonating more than exciting. In fact, 66% of voters categorized his administration thus far as chaotic, including a notable 75% of independent voters who echoed this sentiment. While chaos has historically played into Trump's political narrative, appealing to his base, it has also alienated a substantial portion of the electorate. Only 10% of Democrats found his term exciting, a stark contrast to the 82% of Republicans who did. The poll also sheds light on Trump's handling of critical policy areas. Disapproval ratings were consistent across various issues, including immigration, trade, and foreign conflicts. For instance, Trump's net approval on immigration stood at -4 points, with 51% of voters disapproving of his approach, while his management of foreign conflicts received a disapproval rate of 54%. These figures underscore a concerning trend. Voters who once viewed Trump as a competent businessman now question his economic acumen, with his approval rating on economic issues languishing at just 43%. Compounding these challenges is the unpopularity of key figures within Trump's orbit, most notably Elon Musk, who received a favorable rating from only 35% of voters. This skepticism extends to Musk's initiatives, as a poll experiment revealed that support for certain government efficiency measures dropped when they were associated with his name. Despite these hurdles, there remains a silver lining for Trump. A majority of Americans still support the deportation of undocumented immigrants. However, they are increasingly wary of specific tactics employed, such as deporting legal residents based on their political activism. As Trump continues to grapple with a divided electorate and a wary public, the implications for his administration and its legislative agenda are profound. The forthcoming months will be crucial as he seeks to recalibrate his approach, address voter concerns, and potentially regain the economic advantage that once bolstered his political standing. The evolving dynamics of public opinion, particularly as they pertain to independent voters, will be pivotal in shaping the trajectory of his second term. Looking ahead, it remains to be seen whether Trump can pivot from this tumultuous start to restore confidence among the broader electorate and navigate the complexities of governance in a polarized political landscape.